Welcome to this video session on Bama's Karukku explanation of Chapter 1. This video is part of the discussion of the paper Compulsory Foundation Course in English for 4th Semester BCA BSc English Language at Mangalore University. We are in the first chapter of Bama's work, Karukku. This video is the continuation of my video on the discussion of Chapter 1 made in the earlier two parts, Part 1 and Part 2. In the Part 1, we had a discussion of the way Bama constructs an image of her village through the description of mountain ranges, the ponds in the village, the nature which surrounds the village. In the second part of the video, we went to the discussion of how Bama represents her village through certain individual instances like the Muniandi shrine or even the example of Bondan Mama. So through the examples of these, she is trying to attract us to the unique features of the village. The attempt to portray her village continues in the last part of this video on the Chapter 1 2. Let's see what is there in this part. Welcome to this session. Okay, so the first thing that we observe in the later part of the Chapter 1 is the description of the people and their nicknames. Bama introduces several surprising nicknames which were present among their community people. Yeah, you know about using nicknames. We too use it. Sometimes long names, or even among friends, they keep some short nicknames. Sometimes they are even funny too. I think I can recall some such instances where somebody whose name is Dhanalakshmi is often referred as Dana, right, in Kannada, calling her as Le Dana, Ba Dana. So you see, this looks a little funny too. Even one more such joke I recall here related to this. There was a person whose name was Nanda Kumara, and he was often, of course, nicknamed as, shortened his name as Nanda. So when people asked him about what was his name, he used to reply as Nanda, and people questioned him, then whose, right? Nindalde ninda ಇನ್ಯಾರದ್ದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಕೇಳುವ ಸನ್ನಿವೇಶಗಳು ಎದುರಾಗಿತ್ತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. So sometimes we see some such instances related to names and nicknames in our day-to-day life only. But Bama takes up such examples of nicknames in order to provide us the unique feature of Dalit Christians living in that part of the village. Because for them, they had baptized names. They had their own baptized names. They were baptism is carried on at the time after the birth to a baby, and a naming ceremony is made there itself. Right, name is given to a baby during baptism. But those names are there as only official names. They were not the names which were practiced among them. They had their own other names. The people had given some names based on their traits or characters that you can observe here. Let's see second. You see, a child was Munkovan. See, probably Mungopa in Kannada is somewhat related to this word. Munkovan, who has short temper. If a child has got short temper, he is considered Munkovan. A woman was a midday masala. Her name was called as midday masala because she used to grind masala at midday. Because everybody in their community, they grind masala in the evening, right? So that was a difference, So she was different from that of others. Like the way unicorn is different from other animals which have two horns, but unicorn has got only single horn, Similarly, she was a different one. In order to identify her, people used to call her as midday masala. Then we see she used to cook rice, curry or coos, millet porridge. They used to, somewhere you see a kind of reference to the food habits of the people also. Bama is trying to give that thing, rice and curry or coos or millet porridge ಗಂಜಿ ಏನಿದೆ, ರಾಗಿ ಗಂಜಿ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಇವೆಲ್ಲವೂ ಕೂಡ ಅವರ ಜನಜೀವನದ ಒಂದು ಆಹಾರ ಪದ್ಧತಿಗಳು. ಶಿ ಇಸ್ ಟ್ರೈಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಪ್ರೊಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ದಟ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ, ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಿ ದಿ ಹಿಯರ್. Anyhow, the names are interesting because nicknames are given based on the characteristics or the features, temperament that people used to possess. We have one more instance. A child with a very dark skin and plump is Murugan. Yeah, if a child has got a dark skin and plump in the sense little bit fat, so that person is Murugan, because Murugan is a I think it's a spring it's like a spring pig, as pigs wander about well fed and plump by the spring of Murugan, right? So that's the thing. So similar to, because they were fat, they were considered as Murugan. So then we have one more instance, that is a woman who had leaked all over her legs when she relieved his cousins are leaky. A small girl who went off to swim but can only float is Medenda, the floater. The women who chase crows away as a small child is Kaka. Kaka is related to crow. I think she is trying to bring these local names, regional names, in order to give that image of that particular community and locality, and the way people were living. The lifestyle of the people is become evident or even more powerfully constructed through giving focus, on these aspects. Yeah, we move on to next part. Again, you see other nicknames which are interesting. Again, Konamachi is there. That means one who's starer, deaf and dumbo or crazy. Then we have Severio or Xavier. That person is called as Severio. And black and Manachi is the one who has got flat nose. Ujhamukhi, who has got running nose. Always there is a running nose. Cold, who has got cold. Green nose. The other one, needle bum, who has got needle bum. Alright. So these are some of the different names. Also we see these are the names actually given to girls. We also have names for boys. Like nicknames of boys are like Dalbum, who has got there is no exact reason that she is trying to present for that. We have one more with names, that is Kalakundan, right? So you see Kalakundan is someone who is like boulder, right? Maybe, right? Like that again. Then we have Endraya, who says Endraya for Engaya, as a small boy, right? If you mispronounced, if somebody, while I think lisping, or we can say it is staggering while pronouncing the words like Engaya, if somebody pronounced it as Endraya, then that person is named after Endraya, right? So then we have Tepatuzu, who says Tepatuzu for Kepakuzu when they were in childhood. Then that person is considered Tepatuzu. So likewise, you see certain incidents, their day-to-day lives, the incidents, instances, or the events, the experiences of day-to-day life, they contributed to their nicknames. Therefore, the names which are very much there as a mainstream part of their life are not very popular. Formal names or official names are not very popular. It is the nicknames they became popular. I think other nicknames are also Blackmouth. You have Nezuchan, Staggerer is one who made the staggering, Nezuchan. Right? Then Belly Button, Common, Jack of all traders is known as Common. Bundan, yeah, we already introduced to Bundan Mama in the last video. We discussed that. Snatcher, Bundan means snatcher. See, the name is not actually baptized name, but it is a name given out of his, I think out of his profession of snatching or stealing, right? Then Vidvi is an idiot. Nadodi is a wanderer. Nadodi is a wanderer. Idiot, half ear. So these are the different names. See, why do you think Mama presents these names particularly? See, by presenting these names, on the one hand, she gives a kind of flavor or rather regional touch, because it's a regional novel. Another interesting thing you can observe, dear students, there are two types of narratives. There are some which are meta narratives. They discuss grand events and grand story of somewhat worldly process. But there are some micro narratives. They are not meta narratives, micro narratives. They operate at the micro level, from the village level, rural level, some locality level, right? The things happening in the locality level has sometimes even the broader perspective or broader repercussions too. If you can study something from the micro level, that can give you a kind of telescopic, or rather I can say a kind of window to the whole process. See, therefore, whatever may be the names, whatever may be the naming was carried on as part of the religion that they embraced, still the local indigenous or their day-to-day life, what they have, that stands out even beyond the artificial life they have accepted. Somewhere you observe that the focus is on that local element, that regional flavor. That's why she's trying to project the interesting thing related to the nicknames. Yeah, let's move on. It continues with one more instance. See, it's a novel which takes up several individual instances to construct a kind of image of Dalit Christians, particularly Dalits in South India. So she takes up several instances throughout the novel. So we have one more such example here. We had Bondan Mama's story in the last part, and we have Kaman's story here. Kaman, who lived near them, he was there near Bama's house. His actual name is Maria Lourdes. See, that's a baptized name, Christian name, Maria Lourdes. But he was not called so, he was called Kaman out of the work he did. Because we were given that here in the last part, that Kaman is someone who is jack of all trades, right? So he is a jack of all trades. That means he was an expert in all trades. There is a famous saying in English, right? That is jack of all, master of none, right? Master of none. We shouldn't become master of none and jack of all. ಎಲ್ಲ ಅರ್ಧಂಬರ್ಧ ಗೊತ್ತಿದ್ದು ಒಂದು ಕೂಡ ಪರಿಪೂರ್ಣ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲದೆ ಆಗಬಾರ್ದು. ಆದರೆ he was jack of all trades. He aged about 25. His age was about 25. Would not do any work other than the wandering. His favorite work was wandering. It's interesting that I think I went to one such example. Somebody asking a person in UK after his graduation, what's your employment? What are you doing? The person replies immediately that my employment is going to unemployment office and collecting the monthly stipend that they give. Employment itself is going to unemployment office to collect some monthly stipend that they are offering to unemployed degree holders. See, likewise, it's wandering, right? Wandering is itself is his profession. And if anyone wants him to go to the shops, ನೋಡಿ ಎಲ್ಲಿಗಾದ್ರೂ ಹೋಗಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ he is good at wandering, walking from place to place, going there and here. So anyone wanted to do any errand, what we say, errand in the sense, go on an errand in the sense, if you want to buy something, if you want to visit any place nearby your house, you may go walk ahead, walk out, you go out for a while and then you make an errand. Similarly, if somebody wanted him to do some job, they would ask him to go to the shop or to the post office, and he would do it. That was the speciality of Kaman. So I think that's why she is trying to give a scope for Kaman. Remember, I think ನೆನ್ಪಿಟ್ಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೋದು ಡಿ ವಿ ಜಿ ಅವರ ಕಗ್ಗ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಹುಲ್ಲಾಗು ಬೆಟ್ಟದಡಿ ಮನೆಗೆ ಮಲ್ಲಿಗೆಯಾಗು, ಕಲ್ಲಾಗು ಕಷ್ಟಗಳ ಮಳೆಯ ವಿಧಿ ಸುರಿಯೇ, ಬೆಲ್ಲ ಸಕ್ಕರೆಯಾಗು ದೀನ ದುರ್ಬಲರಿಂಗೆ, ಎಲ್ಲರೊಳಗೊಂದಾಗು ಮಂಕುತಿಮ್ಮ. ಇದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ನೆನ್ಪಿಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕಾದದ್ದು. ಬೆಟ್ಟದ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಹುಲ್ಲಾಗಬೇಕು. ನಾವೇನು ಮರ ಅಲ್ಲದೆ ಇದ್ರೂ ಕೊನೆ ಪಕ್ಷ ಹುಲ್ಲಾಗಿ ಆದರೂ ಆ ಬೆಟ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಆಸರೆ ಆಗಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಹುಲ್ಲಾಗು ಬೆಟ್ಟದಡಿ, ಕಲ್ಲಾಗು ಕಷ್ಟಗಳ ಮಳೆಯ ವಿಧಿ ಸುರಿಯೇ. ಕಷ್ಟಗಳ ಮಳೆ ಕೆಲವೊಮ್ಮೆ ನಮಗೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಸುರಿಯುತ್ತೆ, ಅದನ್ನು ಕಲ್ಲಾಗಿ ಅದನ್ನು ಫೇಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಥಿಂಗ್. ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಲದೆ ಬೆಲ್ಲ ಸಕ್ಕರೆಯಾಗು ದೀನ ದುರ್ಬಲರಿಂಗೆ, ಕಷ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ದುರ್ಬಲರಾಗಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ವೀಕ್, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ವಿ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಸಮ್ ಅದರ್ ಡೇ ಬಿಕಮ್ ವೀಕ್, ರೈಟ್? So if somebody is aged, somebody is needy, we also become the same some other day, right? ಸೊ ನಮ್ಮಿಂದಾದ ಸಹಾಯವನ್ನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನುವ ಮೆಸೇಜನ್ನು ಡಿ ವಿ ಜಿಯವರು ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಮನ್ ಅನ್ನು ನಾವು ನೆನೆಸ್ಕೊಂಡಾಗ ಜನರಿಗೆ ಉಪಕಾರವನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಬದುಕಿದ್ದಂಥ ಜೀವ ಅದು. ಹಾಗಾಗಿಯೇ ಸೊ ಬಾಮಾ ಗಿವ್ಸ್ ಎ ಕೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಕೋಪ್, ಎ ರೆಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಟು ಕಾಮನ್. Such kind of people were there among their community, right? Who can help others, who can go for an errand on behalf of them and can support them, right? People gave him 5 or 10 paise. Of course, he would do that for taking some money, and he would buy and eat gruel. That was his work. By taking the pittance that people used to give for the job he did or the errand he performed, and he would lead his life like that. So even you can see he would stretch out along the front ledge of our cottages without care until someone calls him at the milking time in the evening. ನೋಡಿ ಅವನ ಜೀವನ ಮನೆ ಎದುರುಗಡೆ ಸ್ಟ್ರೆಚ್ ಔಟ್, ರೈಟ್, ಆರಾಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಿದ್ದುಬಿಡ್ತಾನೆ. ಅವನು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ನಿದ್ದೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ. ಯಾರು ಏನೇ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ಏನು ಹೇಳುವಂಥದ್ದಿಲ್ಲ. ಯಾರಾದರೂ ಕೆಲಸ ಬೇಕಾದಾಗ ಅವನ್ನ ಎಚ್ಚರಿಸ್ತಾನೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳುವಂಥದ್ದು, ಚಿಂತೆ ಇಲ್ಲದವನಿಗೆ ಸಂತೆಯಲ್ಲಿಯೂ ನಿದ್ದೆ ಬರುತ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಅವನು ಆ ರೀತಿಯ ಜೀವನವನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರುವವನು. he doesn't care for anybody anta, right? Doesn't care for anything. So his work was to help others and take little money whatever they give and lead his life. So therefore some people called him simpleton, a kind of simple person, whereas some people called him half crazy, antara crazy avanu anta kuda, half crazy anta kuda kariyodittu. So but Bama describes he was a strange melancholic kind of a boy, right? Bama describes he was a strange melancholic kind of a boy. Melancholy means who has got some kind of gloominess, sadness, and Bama identified that in him. Anyhow, so she gave a due scope to persons like Bundan Mama, common in her chapter here. Then we have one more thing. Then everything changed. Suddenly you can see a kind of change in common. That's why I think his represents, his reference is important here. He began to work wearing a khaki uniform, used to attend the church. See, change happened in his life. It's a change, a social change which was happening in that society. Then he embraced some modern work, and he began to wear a khaki uniform and even attended church prayer or church gatherings using the same dress. Then again all that disappeared. ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಅವನ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಮರೆಯಾಗ್ತದೆ, disappeared, and he continued to lying on the front ledge of like a broody hen sitting on eggs. Look at the simile, like a broody hen, thinking hen sitting on an eggs. But suddenly he began coolie work like everyone else. Then common began coolie work. So the transformation, changes in the life of common's life are brought here. Then now he works regularly, wants to get married, and defends himself as a good groom if people question his eligibility, right? So people used to question his eligibility. What eligible? What qualities you possess to marry, and he would defend himself, right? He would never submissive to them. So people even talked of nobody in this village is likely to give him bride. So if he get one, he will be lucky. That was the idea in page number 10, you can see. So but still he was optimistic. He can cook like any woman, but eat it all by himself, leaving the pots washed clean. Yeah, that was the problem, right? He can cook, but he only eat everything. That's the thing. His own mother says that. Therefore the things related to him are a little interesting and a little unique here. Therefore a story of common is brought under here. But it is interesting to observe the line in page number 10. Can we write a whole book on this part, on this sort of people we have? I can write a whole book on this part of people we have. See, each and every person in that village gives something which is relevant to Bama. Therefore she presents the story of common. Likewise, we have one more such folklore here, that is the Nalathangal temple. It's interesting that the way Nalathangal temple was formulated. Let's see that. In the north, they had Archanavaram with the Nalathangal temple. In the northern part, there was a Nalathangal temple. Then there is a story related to famous Nalla Tangal. See, Nalla means good, Olleya. Tangal means Tangi ennuva artha ide. So, therefore, you can see a brother looked after his younger sister Nalla Tangal after their parents' death. Yeah, that's the story. A brother looked after his sister. Then he married her off to someone from the Manamarutai, a place named Manamarutai. And then the elder brother married, her elder brother, that is, the one who looked after her, married a vain woman. He married a vain woman. Some irritating personality here is that vain woman. Terrible famine in the Manamarutai. Thereafter, we can see after some years, there appeared terrible famine, right? So, due to lack of rain, Barada, drought and famine, Kshama, Bantu. By that time, she had born several children, right? She gave birth to 7 children. 7 children, right? She gave birth to 7 children. After each birth, wrote letters to her brother. Yeah, we can see in her story, after each birth, after the birth of each child, she wrote some letter to her brother about her life and the place Marutai. But whenever the letters reached her brother's house, it was a vain sister-in-law, the one whom he married, flung the letters into fire. She was not ready to hand over those letters to her brother. She was angry or she was jealous of that Nalla Tangal. The brother had therefore not able to see anything, not able to get any letter. He did not hear any news and he was worried about her, that is his sister. In the meantime, what happens with Manamarutai suffered from famine, Nalla Tangal wrote again about her pitiable condition. But by God's mercy, the brother read it. It reached him and he sobbed his heart out like a woman, right? See the way simile is used here, like a woman. That means women are meant to cry, the way usual patriarchal perception is there in our society. And he cried, of course. It is women who express that kind of attachment to some kind of incidents like this. And she did it, brought his sister and the 7 children. That brother then brought his sister and 7 children to his home. On the way, when he was bringing them home, he told Nalla Tangal to go ahead as he had to buy things. Because he wanted to buy some things from the shops, he just told her to go ahead and reach his home. When Muli Alangari, that's the name of that Nalla Tangal, Muli Alangari, saw her approach, that is the one who is referred as a vain sister-in-law, that is Muli Alangari. When she saw the approaching Nalla Tangal, she locked all the doors to prevent her from entering. She was not ready to accept her, admit her, and therefore Muli Alangari, that is her sister-in-law, locked the door and never gave entry to Nalla Tangal. Nalla Tangal knocked the door several times and said, "If I have been a true and faithful wife, this door will open at once." These are some of the folklores where people have some kind of twists and turns, such kind of plots. You can also see here that he said that if I am a faithful wife, ನಾನು ಫೇತ್ಫುಲ್ ವೈಫ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದರೆ ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ ಪತಿವ್ರತೆ ಅನ್ನುವ ಮಾತಿದೆಯಲ್ವಾ, ಆ ಥರ ಆಗಿದ್ದರೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅವಳು ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಳು. ಈ ಥರದ ಕೆಲವು ಕಥೆಗಳನ್ನು ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ಪುರಾಣಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ನೋಡ್ತೇವೆ. ಸಿಮಿಲರ್ ಸಚ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, ದೆನ್ ಸಿಮಿಲರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, ದಿಸ್ ಡೋರ್ ವಿಲ್ ಓಪನ್ ಎಟ್ ಒನ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇಟ್ ಡಿಡ್ ಓಪನ್, ರೈಟ್, ಅದು ಓಪನ್ ಆಯಿತು. ಓಕೆ, ದೆನ್ so as she entered, her hungry, ravenous children, her children were very mischievous, very naughty, and they were hungry also. They began to search for food. Whatever they found there, they began to take that. The vain woman was furious. Her sister-in-law was furious, and she plucked away the food from the little ones and drove them out. She did not allow those children to get that get that food, and she drove them out, drove them out. Avarna aache kalistale. The desperate Nalla Tangal pushed her children into a nearby well, and the last boy escaped and took refuge at a shepherd. In the next step of the story, Nalla Tangal got disappointed, disheartened, and went to commit suicide, and she pushed all her 6 children except the one who got escaped. Where did he go? He took refuge at a shepherd. And she went there to the shepherd, and she dragged him from there, and she also flung him into the water, and ultimately she leapt in herself. She also, along with her 7 children, committed suicide. Yeah, the elder brother returned at that time, searching her. He searched for her, and he learned the story of the death. He came to know that she died by from that shepherd who gave the shelter to that the 7th child shepherd through his wife. Though his wife lied, his wife did not tell him the entire story. Then he understood everything, threw his wife into burning kiln and killed her. See, in the harsh or bitter incident of bitter memory of his sister's death, he killed his wife. What justice is provided? That's the question you see here once again. A death for death, a tit for tat, or eye for eye principle. But nevertheless, those things are important, not the part of discussion here. Still, you find that folklore that people believed in the sacrifice of Nalatangal and dedication of a brother to his sister, right? Made a statue of. And then what he did, because of that, in memory of his sister, he made a statue of Nalatangal and her 7 children, the shepherd, the 7 children also, and also the shepherd, right? The shepherd who told him the truth. So before his death, that's how the story ended. So what you observe in the story of Nalatangal story, right? That is the way several folklore were in practice. People believed in that. Day-to-day life has got rich folklore, folk stories, and they have their own cultural significance. What cultural significance do you see here? The care a brother has got for a sister, and the attachment, the love between a brother and sister is expressed through this story. And by this, I think it is particular to Indian society where we find these kind of relationships. And by projecting this, she's trying to project that very broader level. The community, her community people who had, or her village people who had these kind of incidents, which can project the real essence of Indian culture. Anyhow, so let me conclude with this, that through these examples, the writer captures the structure of our society, and by providing different examples, descriptions of nicknames of the people, or even the story of the Nalatangal temple is an example where she is trying to project the structure of her society, the village where she lives. And it's a kind of providing identity to her community and Dalit Christians living in that part of society. And she explores the uniqueness of the village, and she acts as a representative voice of her village and her community here. And moreover, she reveals through this chapter, reveals the attitude and beliefs of the people through different examples or instances. Say, for example, it is an instance of brother and sister relationship in the story of Nalatangal temple. Anyhow, so thank you for watching. See you in the next video with the discussion of the chapter 2.